That was a fail. Nice way to start off the day. Top of the morning, Sawadee Krap. I'm back in Thailand after 5 weeks in Australia. I will be going into my 19th month living here in Thailand. I know you can hear the putt-putt of the boats out there. It's 7 a.m. I'm down here at Jomtien Beach, feeling fresh. I've learned some things living here in Pattaya for the last 19 months, and I want to share 5 of those things. Just a break in transmission. I stopped recording to put the drone up and it lost reception out there, and yeah, that was a bit of a fail. Nice way to start the video. Controller, unfortunately, no drone. So that is a perfect way to lead into point number 1. Word is bond with Thai people. What does this mean? So I hailed the jet ski driver over. He was just warming the jet ski up, whizzing up and down. And I showed him the controller and I said, look, drone is bainon, asleep out there. I said, can you take me out there? And I just plucked the figure out of my head. I went high. I said 500 baht, hello baht. And he said yes. So I dumped my bag there. I jumped on the back of the jet ski and we drove out to where I thought it was, hoping that the controller would get reception back. It did not. Upon returning back to the beach, I opened my wallet and I only had 350 baht in there, which is still an outrageously good price for 2 minutes on a jet ski there and back. And he said, no, haro baht, 500, which he was completely within his rights to do. So I part paid. I paid with my phone, 150 baht, and then cash, 350. Now, if I was a dickhead or I didn't know better, I might have argued the toss. Oh, come on, bro, 350 was nothing. We just went there and back. 350 is enough. That would not get me anywhere because I'd made the promise and he accepted. We had an arrangement, and there's no backing out of that sort of thing here in Thailand. Breaking a deal like that, that's how people get themselves into trouble here. Approach it with an Australian expectation or a Western expectation and think you can negotiate after the fact. Point 1, don't do that. Lessons I've learned. Point number 2. Shit is going to go wrong. I'll give you an example. At least once a week, if not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a week, I'll order a meal at a cheap cafe, and it'll come out and it's not what I asked for. And this relates a little bit back to point 1. I'm the foreigner, it's my fault. If I don't want to eat that, then I should order another thing. But best believe I'll be paying for both those meals. A waitress getting my meal wrong, that is the least worst thing that's ever going to happen. Oh look. Second mistake for the day. So spilling my soda water and having to pay for 2 meals when I only ordered 1. That's the least of my worries here. Things are only gonna escalate from there. And with each level of escalation, my angst and my stress levels are gonna jump up. So that example with the ordering the wrong meal and then paying twice, that's just a micro example of something that could be a lot more macro. I'll give you an example. It could be something as big as you've paid a deposit on your rental or your condo, and at the end of the lease, the owner is not happy with the way you left it, even though you left it perfectly. There is very little recourse here in Thailand to go to some sort of ombudsman or police and argue the case and get them to side with you. That ain't going to happen here because point number 3, the foreigner is always wrong. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not saying be a sucker or have a sucker mentality. When you come here, just arrive with that little piece of information in the back of your head, I reckon. Point number 4, finding accommodation, cheap, affordable accommodation. It's not that easy. Not that easy at all, especially if you're overseas, right? You're not actually in town. I found that going on the Facebook accommodation groups or Hip Flat or any of these ones, if the accommodation is Thai owned, they usually are pretty slow to get back to you, if at all. Of course, there can be a language barrier and the translation between your English email that goes out and their Thai, that's a difficulty as well. And of course, the rest of the properties, they're all owned by Phalungs. Now, foreign owned properties, they're going to jack the price up, way up. There's really no ceiling to what a Falun may ask for rent. If you're going through the classifiers or a property agent and you're not in Thailand, you're inevitably going to get charged the premium price, right? Because you're going through an agent who might be going through another agent who's then going through the owner. You've got like 1 or 2 or 3 tiers of, how would you say it? Like gratuity money built into your monthly rent. If you're here on the ground and you want to go super cheap, you can live Thai style, and you can get an apartment in Pattaya for between 3,000 baht and 5,000 baht a month. I'll do the conversion on that. Wow, right? Sounds low, but that will often have no windows. It'll be a little box, and almost certainly for 3,000 to 5,000 baht a month, there will not be aircon. You'll have to go and buy a fan. I've already done 1 or 2 videos on how to get the best priced condo here in Pattaya. I'll link them here and here. I'll throw them in the description as well. Feel free to watch them after we finish this video. That was Bay Beach Resort Jomtien. And for the 5th and final point, let's go next door and have a look at Marine Beach. You know, I like to be pretty candid on this channel. I'm not gonna bullshit you. The 5th and final point is, if you want to stay here long term, not meant to be in here. If you want to stay here long term, it's really difficult. And you have to, well, there's some things you have to do. Now, this isn't a visa video. Of course, there's many different visas, the easiest being the DTV, or the education visa, or the Muay Thai visa, or if you've got stacks of money and you're over 50, the retirement visa. But frankly, Thailand is not really set up for foreigners to stay here long term. They really only want us here if we're starting a big business and we're gonna bring lots of money to Thailand, or if we're retired and we wanna keep shelling out lots of money. Now, finally, after 19 months, I'm finally applying for a DT visa, a DTV visa, which is going to take off so much stress that's been on my shoulders. I'll tell you a story. I've met dudes that have come here and they're I don't know, a little bit on the spectrum, or their thinking is very concrete, sequential, and they like to do everything by the book. Oh, well, I can't do this, or what if that happens, and etc., etc. That attitude is not going to get you anywhere here. I really think it's a lot easier to make this work if you're someone that doesn't mind cutting the odd corner, whilst being very strategic about certain maneuvers and focused and motivated. Strategic and focused and motivated. It takes those three characteristics, I would say, and a little bit of money, or a lot of money, to stay here, because you're basically fighting gravity the whole time. I like that. I'm going to coin that term. It's a bit like fighting gravity. I'm not going to go into too much detail. Suffice to say that that's what I've learned over the last 19 months. Point 5 is it ain't easy to stay here, and you might find yourself doing things that you never thought you'd have to do. But there we go. Shit ain't for the faint-hearted. Thanks for tuning in.
I've been down so long.
Oh dear, I've lied to you. I said that at the very end I'd explain my plan for the beginning of 2025. All right, I've decided I'll stay in Pattaya. Some cool projects have come up that I really want to lend a hand with. And even though I'd like to move to Bangkok at some point, probably towards the end of this year, I'll be doing a few videos here in Pattaya, a few clickbaity, help ones to get the ball rolling after that reprieve of 5 weeks of basically nothing. And I'm going to train up to Chiang Mai, because I've got a dirty old little motor scooter up there stashed in someone's car park that I need to get fixed, I need to put on a train, and I need to get back down here. Suffice to say, there is going to be more motorbike rides this year.